Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how we refurbish the third container in our design, which is that one right over there. You can see the progress of our shipping container house build in this playlist right here, so check that out if you're interested in seeing more of our build.
A few years ago, we decided to quit the rat race and venture down a completely unfamiliar path in life. We sold almost all of our possessions, renovated a camper van, and toured the US looking for a piece of land to start our journey. After almost 2 years, we found our piece of paradise in the Pacific Northwest, and Pacific Pines Ranch was born. Follow along as we chase our dreams to build an off-grid shipping container home and to see our projects and adventures along the way. As we like to say on the ranch, the joy is in the journey. The third container is in our staging area and will eventually be on the second level of the house, as you saw in the intro. We did this staging area so we could access the container. That way we don't have to do all of this work on a 20-foot extension ladder, which would not be very fun. We live in an extremely corrosive environment, so it's really important to remove the rust and get a solid layer of paint to protect the containers. In this video, it's the first time we are trying to figure out the best way to refurbish the containers. We tried several different ways to remove the rust: wire brush, resin disc, sandblasting, etc. And the wet sandblaster is by far the fastest and the easiest way to remove the heavy, scaly rust. We looked into using a rust converter, but there were several rust converters that said, "Do not use on Corten steel." And also, the rust was just too intense for a rust converter in some areas. Keep in mind, almost everything you see us do, we are doing for the first time, so there's always some figuring out to do to see what works best, etc. It's the saga of the noob. Hello, hello! I am here
with Aquaman.
With Aquaman, and we are doing the wet sandblaster today. So we got the pressure washer right there, the sand siphon that runs to the gun, and that will be attached to the gun, and they will come out together. So this is what we did yesterday. There's a little bit of flash rust because we weren't able to finish. It's okay, it's really easy to remove considering. So yeah, it's really amazing, this wet sandblaster. So we have this half of this side done. We're going to finish this half and get the first layer of the zinc epoxy primer on and move forward with painting the container. We used a 4400 PSI pressure washer with a sand siphon attachment to wet sandblast the container. We worked in small sections to make sure we could sand and paint within the same day. Alright, so Viant finished the wet sandblaster. Got a little bit of flash rust, so we are just going with the orbiting sander where we can and kind of smoothing it out so it has a nice finish, and yeah, working little by little to finish that so we can start to paint. There's always a little bit of flash rust that forms after using the wet sandblaster, but it's extremely easy to remove compared to the scaly pitted rust that we started with. We use an orbiting sander to smooth out the edges of where we sandblasted, and it comes right off with the sander. We used a marine grade zinc epoxy primer for the first layer of paint. Windy day today on Pacific
Pacific Pines Ranch. We're super happy with how the side of the container came out. Yeah, it looks really nice considering. So it's too windy to paint today, so we will do some other small stuff and get back to painting it black when it is not windy. Ooh, I can smell the paint from here. So Viant today went ahead and did the wet sandblasting for this side of the container. So you can see we did up until here, and then we went over it with an orbiting sander, 180 grit we used. And yeah, so right now we're just mixing up the paint, and we will go ahead and paint this section with the primer. So Viant is over there mixing the paint. It's our little paint station. So here we go. So we finished painting one part of the container. There it is behind me. It's really the best that we can do. Ideally, we would love for it to turn out like as nice and smooth as, you know, like a car or something. But if we did that, I think we would be working on the finish of the container for like the next 3 months. So we did our best. Eventually we're gonna cover the outside with some sort of siding anyways. So I think it's good for now. And yeah, moving on. Okay, so we're done painting. It was a long day. My aunt did a lot today. Yeah, so the paint is done on this section, at least the primer. It's looking pretty good. I think we did a pretty nice job on the finish, as best that we could do. Obviously, I know there's some dents and damage from just the container's life. They're quite old. I think they're 17 and 15 years old, so they have some life in them, which is what you see. They are aging. It's their wrinkles. And we gave them a nice facelift though, so they should be doing good now. So tomorrow's a new day with lots to do, so see you then. Today is an exciting day out on Pacific Pines Ranch. Today we are painting the container black. Woo! Black is the color that the house will eventually be, but this one we need to paint now before we drop it because it's pretty high, especially on the other side. It's a bit of a slope, so it's like I don't want to be 30 feet on a ladder painting. So anyways, getting everything together right now. We got on our matching overalls. Shout out to Carhartt, love your stuff. Yeah, so we're just preparing everything and get to painting. So, little by little, working on painting the container. It takes us a while to get through the small parts of the container, like the balcony and the doors, because there's so many sides to them, and we need to make sure each one has paint, so that just takes a little while to go through each C-channel and make sure the top, the bottom, the middle, the back, the bottom of the top of the bottom, which I'm sure is confusing, but yeah, make sure everything is painted and whatnot. So we are about done with the two balconies, 1, 2, and the doors, which is good. Next, I believe we will go over to this side and do this side, and then we will go along the top and get the small parts on the top that the airless sprayer over there cannot get, or it would be waste too much paint to get to it. And then we'll go with the airless sprayer and go down the side.